I've been wanting for some time now to try to create a series of tutorials about how to do every tournament structure and design that I can think of in order and with detailed descriptions on how to get various tournaments playing with one another in FM editor, in the pregame editor for Football Manager. I have been working on this for a little while now, and I really want to kind of demonstrate everything step by step by step as best I can, each one in its own video, starting with the smallest possible tournament size of just 2 teams and moving on from there. A prerequisite for this would be that you have used the advanced rules editor at least some in the past. So if you don't know how to load FM pregame editor, if you don't know how to download it, if you don't know how to load a database, if you're not really sure how to get into advanced rules or play with basic competitions, you probably want to watch some other tutorials first, because I'm going to move pretty quickly past all of that. I'll explain stuff as I can, but I need to get into more detailed descriptions of things. Beyond that, I am going to be going forward with the advanced rules editor for international rules, not club continental or domestic competitions. I really want to focus on international rules. There are more tutorials I find on domestic competitions, 1 and 2. I'm just better at international stuff, and I think it's less covered. So I'm going to stick with my bread and butter. One day, maybe I'll get into domestic rules too. I don't know everything, and I also want this to be a testing platform where we can kind of experiment with certain things and see if we can get better documentation for how specific settings and features actually work, and see if we can get those kind of organized into one place as well. I am starting with the FM26 editor, so in subsequent years, some things may have changed a little bit, though I am repeatedly stunned by how remarkably consistent they've made this tool. I like it. I think it does a nice job. There's clearly problems with it and things that need to develop, but I think that they've done a nice job overall, especially for the volume of data that they're working with. It's pretty rad. Okay, so moving forward, I've got a blank database here. There's literally nothing in it at the moment. And I want to start the most basic of basic tournaments. So I'm going to go into database, go into competitions. I'm going to add a competition, and I'm just going to call it Tournament 0. Tournament 0. Notice the 3-letter name can be longer than 3 letters. Just be careful how long you make it, because it might not all appear. The logo will be based on the colors that you select here. If you make them all black, then it'll be black and white. To prove that, we're going to make one of them yellow, and then it's going to be a black and yellowish competition. I'm going to leave nation blank and continent blank. That'll become relevant for where we find the competition. And then the reputation also matters for where the competition actually shows up, as does the type of competition as well. I'm just going to leave it blank for now. A lot of this stuff is not necessary. You could do things with it, but it doesn't mean it's necessary to create the competition itself and get it working in game. Actually, one of the things I want to test is if I put is extinct here, can I still load it into the game? I think the answer is yes, but let's test that out. So next up, we're going to go into rules and add international rules. This is going to load the basic editor, not the advanced editor. You have to get basic rules set up in the basic editor first in order to convert it to national rules or advanced rules. Notice no, you don't. What? That's awesome. Just don't load anything in there and it won't cause any problems. Beautiful. I want to do this then. Okay, so we loaded the basic, we had the basic rules in there, which is great. We didn't actually add any rules in, so it did no testing. I didn't know that was possible. So you got to convert to advanced rules, and we're just going to start with advanced rules right from the start. So that's great. Okay. When you go to the list over here on the left-hand side, you will need to select which gender it is, and typically use base year 2000. I want to get into some base year testing stuff here in a little bit, but don't worry about it for now. Are we in the basic? Yeah, this is advanced. Okay. The season update day, I often just put it on the 31st of December for international competitions. Sometimes I'll do the 31st of August because that's sort of at the end of the World Cup cycle. But you've also got the U19 or no, the U17 World Cup is now being played every November in Qatar. So setting it in December is nice for the next year. It's just going to start a new cycle. Um, it's not exactly how it works for qualifiers and such. That's a little bit more summer. But regardless, that's what I'm going to do 31st of December. Under competitions, we'll leave that blank for just a second. You don't have to put a description in here. You don't have to put a file in here. Okay. So there's this list. This list is a list of rules. There are many different rules that you could add. The two biggest ones you'll use for international competitions, because remember we're doing international rules, is the competitions definition, which is just going to be type international. That's interesting. Do I need to do international competitions? I don't think so. And then the second one, when you add that, it starts as just rules, and you'll make these. Oh, you know what? I want to double check this because I don't remember off the top of my head how this works. I'm going to save this for just a second and come back. But I want to show you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I'm going to load my other database and see if I can remember exactly how this is set up. Because I want to show you errors, mistakes, confusions, etc., so that we're all on the same page. And it's better documented how to solve certain problems. What do I actually select on that screen? I don't remember off the top of my head. So I'm going to load my my tournament that I'm working on, my big database, and go into advanced rules. Okay, so this is international straight up, and then competition straight up. So those are the two types. I've never played with multiple competitions. That's interesting. There's so much here to play with that I've never really messed with. Maybe one day. Okay, let's go back to where we were. This step-by-step was an old version of this video that I'm not going to mess with, so let's go back to step-by-step editing and go back to our advanced rules. We've got two rule sets. We've got international, that's correct, and then we got competition, that's correct. Now, on the left-hand side, this is going to be a list of rule sets, and it gets a little goofy how it organizes some of this stuff. Where you have rules, this is ill-defined at the moment. So in this drop-down menu, that's always going to be other. So if you have a rule set here in the list that's just for rules and you haven't defined anything, it'll show up here as other. That's just a helpful thing to know. Then under the international competitions, we're actually just going to describe competitions themselves. So if you did this first through the basic editor, it would do some of these steps for you, but I think it's useful to look at this actually happening. So under the list, I just set the international competitions field. I actually filled it out, and I said that the international competition is the Jupiler Pro League, which of course we're going to change. We're going to go back in here. We're going to change this to Tournament 0. Boom. Then back to the list here, this other rule set, we actually have to define Tournament 0 now. So under Rules General, at the top here under this competition set, we'll define it as Tournament 0. We'll update everything over there on the left-hand side. And now notice our list here says International Competition and Tournament 0. Our list here is International Competitions and Tournament 0. Under International Competitions, under the competitions, then you see that we've added a competition called Tournament 0. That tells it to load a competition called Tournament 0 and then follow the rules for Tournament 0, which are linked here. Then we're now about to define. Notice, I have no stages. I don't have any teams. I've got nothing happening here whatsoever right now. There's a few different ways that you can get teams into the game. Let's start at the very beginning. One of the things so the basic editor likes to put teams through qualified teams and then pull them into stages. So let's just try that for a second. So let's go qualified teams, and we're going to go get random national team. I want it to give me two random national teams. And then over here, the basic editor likes to, let's define our stages. We'll first tell it that we're going to use stages. When we use stages, we're going to start with index 0, and we'll give that a stage name of main stage since there's only one. No, since we're doing a final knockout tournament, then this is the final. It'll be a cup style. So under stages, I've defined that it is index 0, stage name final, cup type, or the type is cup. Don't put number of teams. I'll come back later to why not. Most of the time when it's demanding from you to define how many teams are in the competition, you don't really need to. In the majority of cases, you don't actually have to tell it how many teams are going to be there, and you often end up slowing yourself down in terms of editing as a result of doing it. There are times when it's the exact right thing to do for testing purposes, and I'll show you those circumstances too, but the majority of the time, don't put the number of teams in there. It's not helpful. But let's just try this really quickly. So under stages and then teams, which is very different than under teams and then qualified teams, under stages and then teams, it's asking, how do I get teams into this stage? And I'm just going to tell it to, we'll follow what so the basic editor likes to use lowest qualified teams from end of list. Here it does want you to tell it how many teams to get. And then it always wants you to do removed picked qualified teams. I think because there's I believe that this is related to the maximum number of teams picked. Interesting. I believe it's related to duplicates and trying to prevent duplicates. But regardless, I want you to get 2 teams from the qualified list and just add them to this competition. It's going to complain about dates in just a second, but I just want to go in and test. Oh, no, it complains about rounds first. That makes sense. So cup stages need rounds. Other types of stages don't need rounds. We're going to name this round the final, which actually I want to go back and change this to. I usually do the stage as final stage, and the round is final. Here, you do have to define the number of teams. Under rounds, you need to define the number of teams. As far as I know, I haven't tested it without, but I almost never put anything for the number of teams that start from this round. I don't think it's necessary. It might be if you have teams getting buys, but anyway. The number of matches is the number of ties. It's the number of pairings. So in a final, there's 1. In a semifinal, there's 2 pairings. 4 teams, 2 pairings. So 2 teams, 1 pairing, 4 teams, 2 pairings, 8 teams, 4 pairings, etc., and so on. Number of legs defines whether we're going to do a home and away series or just a home series. We're going to do this as a one-off playoff. We'll do the fixture priority as international. I'm not going to worry about stadium for now. I'm not going to worry about draw because it's the final. I've been using 5 from 12 and 3 stops for the substitution rules. And let's leave the draw date off for a second. Let's leave the match date off for a second. And I just want to see. I think it's going to complain about dates. But let's try. New stage 0 for European U19 Championship. Can't find enough teams to be created. It found 1 team and it needs 8. That's interesting. So I think this is an example of the fact that the errors that you receive are not always accurate. I think it's complaining about this tournament, not the European U19 Championship, if I had to suspect. I've not really seen that error before. That's interesting. I want to look at it again. I haven't fixed anything. I just want to look at it again. European U19 Championship. Can't find enough teams to be created. 1 team found. 8 needed. I want to try something here really quickly. What happens if I just tell it to get random national teams from here? Give me 2 random national teams. The number of teams in the competition doesn't expect an expected number of teams from rankings. Okay, so notice I changed Tournament 0, not the European U19 Championship, and I got a different error. I got past that error. It's a good indicator that very often these errors that you're receiving are not actually what's going on. So if you're playing with Tournament 0 and you got a problem with Tournament 0, then it's probably Tournament 0 that's a problem. So pay attention to kind of what it's saying without what it's saying. This is a really good example of that principle. But I had a situation somewhat recently where it kept telling me that stage 0 was the problem. It had 6 dates and it needed 3, and I kept messing with Tournament 0 or stage 0, but that wasn't actually the problem. And I would have caught that if I was thinking about the fact that there were 4 teams in stage 2, which meant that it was probably actually trying to point me towards stage 2. It just was pulling the wrong reference. So in this case, it's saying the number of teams in the competition is 4, and the expected number of teams is 2. Why is the number of teams in the competition 4? Well, because we had 2 qualify from here, and then we had 2 different ones qualify from here. And I've never dealt with these, unfortunately. So it doesn't really know what to do with them. So what I tend to like to do instead of the lowest from end of list thing that they seem to be doing, which I do want to get more testing on. I usually go with get qualified teams for competition, and then say get me 2 teams. So rather than going out and getting 2 new teams from the pool, it's going to go here to teams, qualified teams, and get 2 teams from here, I think. Let's find out if my hypothesis is correct. Yeah, we're back to this now. New stage 0. Okay, so the other way to solve this is get rid of the qualified teams from here. Go to this and tell it to get random national teams from here. That should work. Get random national team to... I feel confident. That's fascinating. So we certainly have some corruption happening here because it keeps referencing this European U19 championship. I bet you that if we undo my whole... okay, in a situation like this, because I've got really nothing here, this is all super easy to recreate. If I was running in domestic... No, that's not going to matter. If I was running into a problem like this, and I was this far into just the basics, I would probably go back to the basic rules and just recreate the competition in the basic rules and then convert. It's what a lot of editors recommend doing anyway. So fine. We'll go with 2 teams in the competition. We'll go with a draw date of... it could have been because of the draw date that we were having that problem. Let's draw it on the 1st of April in the year 2000. Give me 2 random teams. Give me 1 stage, knockout round. Number of matches is number of ties, remember? So there's... no, that's number of legs. Number of matches is number of legs. Match rules will just go straight to penalties. Seed by world ranking. Number of games is number of games is number of legs. Number of matches is number of ties. That's correct. Okay, so number of games, we'll just do 1. 1 game, no replays. We'll put the game date on. We're drawing this on the 1st of May or the 4th of... Whatever. Let's do it in May. Yeah, when did I draw it? Oh, January 4th. No. Because my competition, I'm loading into the Finnish database on right around April 7th. So I want to do this in April, maybe on the 8th. and then it's going to complain that I need a month between the draw date and the beginning of the competition. So let's do May 8th for the competition. They can play at 7 o'clock in the evening. Knockout round, teams, general, okay. Season update day is going to be December 31st. Save. Test the rules. Oh, yeah. It's complaining about number of teams starting at this stage. Let me just show you the error again. At least 2 teams must start in first stage in tournament 0. So that's the first stage. Oh, I got to go get that. I will be back. Okay, my bad. Dog food. My apologies. Let's see. Where were we at? So, test these basic rules. At least 2 teams must start in first stage of tournament 0 means that if we go to this, the number of teams starting at this stage, we have to match this to the number of teams that you're pulling into the tournament. So let's go back, save, test, all the rules are valid, convert to advanced rules, beautiful, test the rules. We have to save before we test. So save the editor data, test the rules. And we're good. Take a look at how it likes to do this. So if you go into teams, qualified teams, it wants number of qualified teams to be 2. It says get best national teams, get 2 of the best national teams. It's going to pull the best national teams. I want to make that the random national teams. But regardless, get random national teams. It likes to do that. Then in this stage, it wants to pull the lowest qualified teams from the end of the list and get 2 and remove from the picked teams. Remember, this does work now. We've tested it. And then in the round, it's going to pull the teams from there. Number of teams added to this round. Don't need that now. Number of matches, number of legs. No. Usually, selecting fewer things, I find, helps most situations. Having fewer things listed usually helps. One thing that the basic editor likes to do that I really don't like is it likes to make these fixture dates. So it likes to basically define a date here and then reference. So this is under match times and rules, fixture dates. And then it wants to reference those fixture dates here as a way of figuring out when to play certain matches. But you can't define individual ties. So I really don't like this. I've never found this to be terribly helpful. So I am going to get rid of it here. Not going to worry about those. Not going to worry about these for now. Just trying to keep this really, really simple. I will go back to the date here. I'm just going to tell you what date to play it on, which I think we could do something like the 9th of May of 2000 and then we'll go straight to penalties. So, hold on. I wasn't paying attention to what I was typing. So we'll play this on the 9th of May of 2000. Not going to worry about the draw date. And this should work. All good. So we save the editor data, and I'm going to start loading Football Manager while we talk about a couple of other things. So what's going on with this base year for dates 2000 thing, requirements 2000? So I don't have all of this sorted out yet, but I'm starting to get a better sense for what's happening with these dates. In general, it is considering the year 2000 to be 2026. So if you, in general, align everything with the year 2000, then what we're actually talking about here is this game being played on April the 8th of the year 2000. 2026. But you can finagle these a little bit. So it is possible for you to change which date it ends up showing things up in. You know what? I'm actually doubting myself a little bit now because, well, that's the case. We're going to load this. Oh, I know why. That only matters if you have multi-year intervals, usually. because this is every year, even though the year 2000 means the year 2006, it's going to kind of backfill this to previous years. And so that means that what it is calling, in the editor, is calling this the year 2000. In the game, that's going to be 2026. So then the editor would want to call this the year 1999, and the game would call it 2025. So it's going to take this rule set for 2000/2026, and it's going to apply that backward in time by 1 year to make sure that there's no gaps in the competition in any way from antiquity into the present. You can play with things like the year offset, etc. I've done a good bit with that, and you'll see what that's all about. But regardless, let's go into Football Manager, and I'll show you where we're at here. Okay, sorry. We load the edit up here by going to step-by-step editing, and then go into the advanced setup career. I'm using Finland as my play test date, so we load. Oh, interesting. 4/6/2025. Now I'm doubting my backdating comments. We'll take a look at it and we'll see. This starts in April of 2026. My competition, remember, 2000 is 2026. So essentially, this is going to load in right after we load the Finnish database. That I know for sure. I know this works. I just am trying to remember the principle of why it works. We'll start unemployed with Torian Moonsamy, my Barbados manager, legend. Okay, how do we find the competition? We go to the world globe. It's going to be under competitions, not clubs or nations, because we didn't add it to any clubs or nations. We go into international. It's obviously a men's competition. We go into world. Now, this is organized by the type of tournament and then the reputation of those types. So like an international final is going to be at the top, and then it's going to organize those international finals by, and then it'll do international qualifiers below that, but it'll organize them by reputation. So we didn't have this as a type. We didn't have it under a continent or anything of that nature. So it shows up in the midsection here because it's after all of the more important tournaments in terms of type, and its reputation is only a 1. But it's not a youth tournament, which would put it down here. I kind of wish that they put a little line here to kind of segment those, but whatever. I don't get power. Tournament 0, I promised you some black and yellow logos, and that's what we got. It randomly pulled Belarus and Bhutan into a tournament. It's going to be played on May the 5th of 2026. Which is a Tuesday. So we're going to simulate forward through all of that. One of the things that I think is interesting about that, it's going to play that tournament on May the 5th, which is a Tuesday. I told it May the 9th, which is a Tuesday. So this is a guideline, and it cares more about aligning to the day of the week than it does to the date of the month. I think that's important. I told it to play on a Tuesday, so it's going to find the nearest Tuesday it can, and it's going to try to play it on that Tuesday, which it did. So I think that's helpful to know. Then, back into World, Tournament 0. As we see, Belarus beat Bhutan in a 2-0 thriller. And there you go. There's our tournament. So I'm going to stop there for now because that's the most basic tournament we could possibly make. It's just a 2-team, 1-match final. And we shall move on from there.